Imagine a world waking from 1,000 years of darkness, a time when knowledge was forbidden and beauty was forgotten. Then, from the very streets of Florence, a brilliant light returned. Art, science, philosophy all reborn in one breathtaking explosion of human genius. This is the story of the Italian Renaissance, the era that didn't just change the world, but rebuilt civilization itself. Welcome to Historica AI. For centuries, Europe lay under a heavy shadow. The era we call the Middle Ages was defined not by progress, but by war, devastating disease, and a deep, pervasive silence. The brilliant knowledge of ancient Greece and Rome, once the bedrock of Western thought, was all but lost, locked away in forgotten libraries or destroyed entirely. Art was rigid, science was heresy, and life for most was short and bleak. But while much of the continent slumbered, a flicker of light began to glow in the heart of Italy. Here, powerful and wealthy city-states like Florence, Venice, and Milan were buzzing with a new energy. Their strategic positions made them hubs of international trade, bringing in not just exotic goods, but also immense wealth. And with that wealth came something even more valuable: curiosity. Enter families like the Medici of Florence. They were bankers, merchants, and ruthless politicians, but they were also visionaries. They understood that true power wasn't just held by the sword, but sculpted by the artist's chisel and written by the poet's pen. By investing their fortunes in artists, thinkers, and architects, they became patrons of a revolution. They weren't just commissioning paintings, they were lighting the spark that would ignite an entire continent and change the course of history forever. The stage was set. The money was there, and the human spirit, suppressed for so long, was about to burst forth in a glorious rebirth. Suddenly, art wasn't just about depicting religious icons in stiff, formal poses. It became a quest to capture life itself in all its messy, beautiful, and complicated glory. Artists of the Renaissance became obsessed with reality. They dissected human bodies to understand anatomy. They developed mathematical systems like linear perspective to create convincing three-dimensional spaces. And they studied the play of light and shadow to give their subjects weight and emotion. They were rediscovering the profound beauty of the world around them. Think of Sandro Botticelli, whose paintings like The Birth of Venus revived the myths of the ancient world with a grace and elegance that was utterly new. Or consider Michelangelo, a man who saw more than just a block of marble. He saw a soul trapped within it, and with his hammer and chisel, he set it free. When you stand before his statue of David, you're not just looking at a perfect human form. You're witnessing the very ideal of human potential made real. And then there was Leonardo da Vinci, the ultimate Renaissance man. He was a painter of breathtaking skill, but his mind couldn't be contained by a single discipline. His notebooks are a universe of curiosity, filled with sketches of flying machines, anatomical studies of the human heart, and observations on the flow of water. For Leonardo, there was no line between art and science. They were two sides of the same coin, both paths toward understanding the truth of creation. Every brushstroke, every sketch, whispered a quiet rebellion, a rebellion against ignorance, against fear, and against the idea that humanity was meant to live in darkness. But this explosion of creativity wasn't just confined to the artist's studio. The Renaissance was, at its core, a revolution of the mind. It was about a renewed hunger for truth, wherever it might lead. For the first time in centuries, thinkers began to challenge long-held doctrines. not with heresy, but with observation and reason. No one embodies this spirit more than Galileo Galilei. He didn't just accept what the church told him about the heavens. He built a telescope, pointed it at the stars, and dared to see for himself. His discoveries that the moon had mountains, that Jupiter had its own moons, were a direct challenge to the established cosmic order. It was a dangerous path. To question the church was to risk everything. But the pursuit of knowledge was becoming a force that could no longer be contained. Across Europe, scholars rediscovered ancient texts, debating the ideas of Plato and Aristotle in candlelit rooms. They questioned the nature of the universe, the structure of the human body, and the very foundations of power. Reason, not just faith, was once again seen as the key to unlocking the mysteries of the world. It was a seismic shift. The world was no longer a fixed, unchanging stage for a divine play. It was a complex, fascinating puzzle, and humanity finally had the tools and the courage to start putting the pieces together. It was dangerous, it was disruptive, but it was undeniably progress. This tidal wave of new ideas couldn't be stopped, thanks to one of the most important inventions in human history, the printing press. Before books were rare treasures, painstakingly copied by hand. Now, ideas could be reproduced and spread with breathtaking speed. A revolutionary thought in Germany could be debated in Italy within weeks. Knowledge could no longer be controlled by a select few. It was becoming democratized. This new flow of information fueled political and social change. In Florence, the Medici family used their vast wealth and cultural patronage to shape their city into the cradle of the Renaissance, a republic that celebrated art and intellect. But this new emphasis on individual thought also planted the seeds of dissent. When Martin Luther nailed his 95 Theses to a church door, his arguments against the church's corruption spread like wildfire across Europe, thanks to the printing press, and sparked the Protestant Reformation. The very idea of what it meant to be human was changing. People were no longer seen as just cogs in a divine machine, but as individuals with their own thoughts, potential, and rights. This radical concept of individuality and the pursuit of freedom would echo down the centuries. And across the Atlantic Ocean, these very same Renaissance ideals of liberty, reason, and the power of the individual would become the bedrock upon which a new world, America, was built. The Italian Renaissance may have ended centuries ago, its great masters long gone, but its light never went out. It continues to burn within our modern civilization. Every scientific breakthrough, every work of art that challenges us, every political rebellion that fights for freedom, every bold dream that pushes the boundaries of human potential, it all traces its roots back to that incredible rebirth in Italy. The Renaissance taught us that darkness is never permanent. It taught us that curiosity can topple empires and that one person with a bold idea can change the world. To understand where we are going, as a society and as a species, we must remember where we were reborn. We have to remember the time when we stepped out of the shadows and rediscovered our own brilliance. Thank you for joining us on this journey. If you want to explore more of the hidden truths and pivotal moments that shaped our world, make sure to subscribe to Historica AI. We'll see you next time.